Cody Ponce is done. ACL. And just like that, the Toronto Blue Jays have a rotation problem that could ripple all the way through Major League Baseball's free agent market. Let's talk about what's actually happening here, why it matters more than people are giving it credit for, and which names you need to be watching right now. Because this isn't just a Blue Jays story, this is a market story. And when a World Series contender starts making calls, things move fast. So let's get into it. The Blue Jays entered this season with legitimate aspirations. They are not a rebuilding team. They are not a team trying to figure out what they are. They came into 2026 thinking they had the pieces to compete deep into October. And honestly, based on what they put together this offseason, that belief was earned. The rotation was supposed to be a strength. Max Scherzer, Dylan Cease, Kevin Gausman, Jose Barrios. That's a capable group at the top. But pitching is the most fragile commodity in baseball. It always has been, and right now the Blue Jays are learning that lesson in real time. Ponce was not supposed to be a guy carrying this team. He was a depth piece, a guy who slots in and gives you length when one of your starters goes down. But here's the thing about depth. Depth only matters when you have it. The moment Ponce went down with that ACL, the Blue Jays lost a layer of protection they were counting on. And now, Nicholson-Smith over at Sportsnet is reporting that the team has been actively pursuing pitching reinforcements, not casually browsing, not having background conversations, actively pursuing. Those are specific words that carry weight, and the fact that serious talks have already taken place with at least one free agent starter this week tells you everything you need to know about how urgent this has become. Think about that for a second. The season is already here. Free agency, for all intents and purposes, is a ghost town right now. Most of the names that were going to sign already signed. There was that wave right before opening day where a handful of guys got deals done, and then the market went silent, the way it always does once the games start. Teams lock in, rosters get set, and the pool of available arms starts to feel more like a puddle. But that puddle still has some names in it. And one call from a motivated front office, the kind of call the Blue Jays are apparently already making, can crack that market back open. Here is the name you need to know: Lucas Giolito. I'm going to say that again because I want it to land. Lucas Giolito, former All-Star, a guy who had a genuinely good season with the Boston Red Sox in 2025. And he is still sitting out there in free agency right now. That should not be possible. That should not be the reality we are living in. This is a pitcher who, at his best, is one of the more dominant arms you will find on any roster in Major League Baseball. He has shown the ability to go deep into games, to miss bats at an elite level, and to be the kind of anchor a rotation can lean on in a playoff push. And he's available, just out there, waiting. There is no clean explanation for why Giolito has not been signed yet. Some of it is probably health-related concerns from the last couple of years. Some of it is teams being cautious, not wanting to commit guaranteed money to a starter who has had some bumps in the road. But here's what I keep coming back to: a team that is actively looking for pitching, a contending team that just lost a rotation piece and is making calls this week. That team should be calling Lucas Giolito first. That search should begin and end with him. He is the best option available in this market right now, and if the Blue Jays land him, you are going to look back at the Cody Ponce injury as a moment that accidentally made this team better. Because adding Giolito to a rotation that already has Scherzer and Cease and Gausman and Barrios, that is a different level. That is a rotation that wins you a series in October. But Giolito is not the only name out there, and that's what makes this interesting from a market standpoint. Because when teams start getting active, when one contender opens their checkbook, other teams start paying attention. Other front offices that have been sitting on their hands start to ask questions, and suddenly a market that looked completely dead starts breathing again. Let's talk about Lance Lynn, two-time All-Star, career ERA of 3.94 over 8 big league seasons. Lynn has been one of the more underrated workhorses in this game for over a decade. He is not a flashy pitcher. He does not strike out 11 guys a game or get featured in highlight packages. What he does is compete. he attacks hitters, he eats innings, and over the course of a long career, he has proven that he can perform in big moments and in big markets. The durability questions are real. The mileage is there. But if he is healthy right now, he adds genuine value to any rotation he steps into. For a team like Toronto that needs bodies and production, Lynn is a legitimate option. And then there's Patrick Corbin. Now look, I know what some of you are already thinking. Corbin went through a stretch from 2020 through 2024 that was genuinely difficult to watch. A two-time All-Star who looked like he had completely lost the ability to get major league hitters out. There were seasons where the numbers were so bad you started to question whether he would ever find his way back, and I understand that skepticism. That stretch was rough, but what happened in 2025 matters. He went out there for the Texas Rangers, made 31 appearances, and posted a .440 ERA. That is not an all-star performance. That is not the Corbin of 2019, who was one of the best left-handed starters in the game. But a .440 ERA in 31 appearances from a pitcher who many people had written off completely. That is a bounce back. That is a guy who found something, who made adjustments, who competed. Is he the first call you make? No. Is he the third or fourth option on a list of available arms? Absolutely. And for a team that is running low on depth, the third or fourth option still has value. Then there is Marcus Stroman. This one hits different if you're a Blue Jays fan, and I think you know why. Stroman started his career in Toronto. He was a foundational piece of those mid-2010s Blue Jays teams that were trying to compete. He has a 3.79 career ERA over 11 big league seasons. He is a ground ball machine. He is a competitor in the way that some pitchers just are, where you can see it in the way he carries himself on the mound, the way he responds to adversity in a game. The durability concerns are there. He only made 9 appearances in 2025, but the talent is real, the track record over a long career is real, and the familiarity with the organization could matter. Would Stroman be coming in as an ace? No. Could he come in, stay healthy, and give this team a reliable option in the back of a rotation that needs length? I think so. And there's something poetic about the idea of Stroman coming back to Toronto to be part of a World Series run. But let's zoom back out, because the individual names are only part of the story here. What the Blue Jays are doing right now, actively making calls, having serious talks with free agents during the season, is the kind of thing that signals intent. It signals that this front office looks at their team, looks at the injury situation, looks at the standings, and refuses to accept the idea that this rotation is good enough as currently constructed. That matters. That is how contending teams are supposed to behave. You don't sit back and hope that the guys you have stay healthy. You go find solutions. You pick up the phone. And when the Blue Jays pick up the phone, other teams notice. That's how baseball works. Front offices talk. Agents talk. The moment word gets out that Toronto is serious, that they've already had talks with at least one starter this week, other teams start recalibrating. Teams that were not urgently pursuing pitching start thinking about whether they should be. Teams that were monitoring the same free agents from a distance start moving closer. A market that had flatlined gets a pulse. This could absolutely shake up free agency across the league. Not in a blockbuster, headline-grabbing way necessarily. We are talking about guys who are available mid-season for a reason, guys with some injury history or performance concerns attached to their names. But the secondary market around mid-season pitching acquisitions matters. It shapes trade deadlines. It affects how teams value what they have on their own rosters. The moment Toronto signs someone, another team that was watching the same pitcher has to pivot. They have to adjust their plan. And that ripple effect is real. For Blue Jays fans specifically, here is what I want you to focus on. The injuries are real. The uncertainty is real. Cody Ponce's ACL is not a nothing development, but the response from this front office is the thing to watch. They are not panicking. They are being proactive. They are making calls and having conversations and apparently getting serious with at least one free agent right now. That is the posture of a team that believes in itself, a team that is not ready to let an injury derail a season that has genuine postseason potential. This roster, healthy and clicking, is dangerous. The lineup has punch, the bullpen has weapons, and if this rotation can stay together, if they can add one quality arm who comes in and gives them length and consistency, the Blue Jays are absolutely in the conversation for the American League pennant. That is not a hot take. That is just an honest assessment of what this team can be when everything is working. The Giolito scenario is the dream outcome here. A healthy Lucas Giolito, motivated and ready to prove himself on a contending team with something to play for, plugged into a rotation that already has several capable arms. That is a meaningful upgrade. That is the kind of addition that changes how the rest of the league has to think about Toronto. But even a Lynn or a Stroman, a veteran who knows how to compete and gives you innings without embarrassing himself, raises the floor for this club in a meaningful way. The depth problem does not get solved with one signing. It rarely does. But you start somewhere. You address the most urgent gap first, and then you keep building. The Blue Jays are in the market. The market is about to wake up. And depending on how the next few days unfold, we could be talking about a deal that reshapes this rotation and puts Toronto back in the driver's seat in the American League. Keep your eyes on this one. It is moving faster than people realize, and when it breaks, it is going to matter.